What if? You woke up tomorrow and you felt different. What if? You began to question what others haven't noticed. What if? I began to have experiences I could not explain at a very young age. Our worldview is filled with intrigue, wonder, adventure, and of course, mysteries. However, there are some situations that we cannot fully explain, and it's time we open up this dialogue and talk about our experiences. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Welcome to Haunted Mysteries. Welcome to Haunted Mysteries Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. This show will air every other week on the Get Haunted Podcast Network. So sit back and relax, and if you miss it, go to the Get Haunted Podcast Network Facebook page or to my YouTube channel under Haunted Mysteries Podcast. Spend an hour every other week with us, delving into what most of us are chasing after, answers to unexplained happenings. This show brings you a bit of chatter, topics, theories, guest interviews, and more. May you be a believer in cryptids, apparitions, UFOs, consciousness abilities, or anything else. Know that there is another person out there who has experienced something similar or a bit stranger. It's not always in our imagination. This episode is pre-recorded. Good evening, everyone, and thanks again for joining me for yet another episode of Haunted Mysteries Podcast. My name is Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. I am the host and the producer of this show. Tonight we have what I would call a returning guest. She was on another show of mine at some point. I thought we'd bring her back and find out what she's been up to. Jennifer Page is in the house, and she is a very good tarot reader. She's an evidential medium, and she's also a green witch. And we spent a little time talking a little bit about the different colors of witches, and I found that to be very fascinating. But before we get into that interview, why don't we take a moment and learn just a little bit more about her? Please welcome Jennifer Page. My guest this evening is Jennifer Page. Jennifer can be summed up in 4 simple words: psychic, podcaster, green witch, and experiencer. Jennifer Page is a professional spirit medium and spooky podcaster. Having grown up in multiple haunted homes, she has been fascinated by ghosts her entire life. Being a green witch, she loves to connect the spooky with the spiritual and shares both topics on her podcast called I Talk to Ghosts. We had a lot to talk about this evening, so sit back and grab yourself some popcorn, as this one is going to be a spooky one. Please welcome to the show, Jennifer Page. Well, good day, Jennifer, and thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to talk to you.
Oh, well, having her back. I had Jennifer on, I'm trying to remember if I've had you on once or twice, since once. Okay. And that was, I don't know if that was a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I'm glad she's back because she's going to be really fun for all of us tonight. But before we get started, I think the best place to start, as usual, is Jennifer, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your background and yourself? We'll start there.
Okay. Well, Kelly, I call a spirit medium. I love connecting with the other side for someone who has lost someone and evidential mediumship. I tend to not call myself a psychic medium only because that tends to confuse people. They think that there might be a future reading available to them. And I'd much rather say, no, I'm a spirit medium. I focus on that area of mediumship. I'm also a green witch. I have been for many, many decades. Also a devout tarot reader, and I am a spooky podcaster. I love ghost stories, and I love sharing the chills with everyone possible.
And she's good at it too. So, and I'll have that information at the end so everyone can look her up and listen to her. You brought up something that is very interesting to me. So lately I've been doing interviews with a few different mediums and or psychic mediums, and one referred to herself as a gray witch. Another one referred to herself as a white witch, and you refer to yourself as a green witch. And I don't know how many more colors of the spectrum witches can be, for God's sakes. It's like, all right, there's gray, there's white, there's green. Can you, do you know the differences between what these are and how we can come to interpret them?
Yes. I consider myself a green witch if I am pressed to pick a label. A green witch to me and to others is you work with nature elements. Okay. So think green nature, herbs, crystals, elements, earth, air, fire, water, all the natural elements that you can think of. A white witch, normally they use that title to signify that they only want to do light magic, as in white magic as in good, positivity, high vibes, love. A gray witch, well, let's move on to black witch, is fine with dabbling with hexes and all sorts of anything they want, baneful magic. A gray witch is kind of in between, like, whatever suits my needs. I might be doing this over here, I might be doing this over there. I also consider myself a death witch, because I do work with spirits and I do work with the dead, but I'm more hesitant to put that out there just because it can sound really scary. I don't want to put anyone in any kind of fear mode. So it's like, wait, give me time to explain. But I'm perfectly happy to say spirit medium, green witch.
Interesting. And so are you telling me, Jennifer, that if I ever say, so what kind of a witch are you? And they say, I'm a black witch. Should I just scream and then just close out the session? Because I don't know. The thing is, it's like when I talk to people, sometimes they think witches are always associated with spells or, but when I mean spells, I mean negative spells, casting negative spells on people, voodoo dolls. I did buy a long time ago, I would say 25, maybe 28 years ago, I did buy a voodoo doll. Yeah, because I hated my boss. And I said, you know what, this is who it is. And I started stabbing that thing like you couldn't believe. I know, terrible, right? And I don't even know what I did. I don't know if I threw it in the trash or I know I don't have it anymore. But I'm telling you, I was so compelled
to buy a voodoo doll. I think that's what they're called. But
Sure.
so what is your knowledge and expertise regarding spells and casting, types of magic? What's your knowledge and expertise on some of that stuff?
Well, just having this conversation, I really would like to put it out there that just because someone calls themselves a black witch or that they're capable of doing hex magic or baneful magic doesn't mean that their focus is what havoc can I call today? Who can I just ruin their day or anything? It's more of the morality compass of, you know what, if you're going to screw with me, I am perfectly fine with serving it back to you. It really isn't about just black magic for black magic's sake. It's about, here is my range of alignment. Yeah. And this is what I'm comfortable with. But your original question is, what's my area of expertise?
If you had to think about something that you did really well, because this will also lead into whether people want to contact you for a reading or something like that. What would you say is your area of expertise regarding readings, so that way people don't get confused? Because there's a lot of readers I've gone to in the past, of course, and some of them have particular gifts. Some of them do better with relationships. Some of them do better with careers. They're just kind of all over the place. And so I want to get people to understand that not every reader might be able to give you the results or whatever you're thinking about, because they might not be attuned enough to a certain type of whatever. What would you say would be yours or some of your fields of expertise?
Okay. I understand. Well, with tarot reading, there's a great example there. I love to do readings that just offer validation, inspiration, affirmation. Like, here, have you thought about it this way? Have you, this is a great area for you. This is something you should be doing. You're on the right track. Or, just cheerleading you on. And when I do a reading, I want to add that I don't ask the person for any kind of what's your question or anything like that. It's just so you're coming to me. What is the best thing for me? What do I need to hear right now for my greater good and my higher self? And that's what the cards have to say. And I don't need to know the exact specifics as to what that is. So I have done readings before where it's like, hey, should I pick this job or this job? And it's like, well, let's see what divination has to say about that. And we can talk about relationships, but I'm certainly not one who considers themselves a love witch, where it's like, ooh, let's get into the nitty gritty or find out what he's really thinking or what should you be doing with that. That's just kind of not a field of interest for me. And I really do think that where your passion is, that's where your power is. So it's like, don't force yourself into some kind of aspect of something because you think it's popular or will make you lots of money. It's like, no, your heart has to be in it, right? And with my spirit readings, I also kind of take the same approach. I like a blank slate. I don't want to know anything about you, who you want to contact. I can work with just your first name, and I open up the space before the reading, before we even meet, so that I'm not looking at you, looking at your background, anything, because I have this battle with my analytical brain, where my analytical brain wants to kick in and run the show and predict what's going to happen. And it's like, no, I don't want any opportunity to have to wrestle that. So it's easier for me to open up the spiritual space with nothing to go by. And I'll take notes beforehand. And then I'll conduct the reading. I'll tell them what I have coming in. And gosh, 96% of the time, your loved one's going to be waiting for you before you even get on the call. And that always leaves me in awe. But yeah, but you have to surrender and trust to that process in order to, I think, be a good medium and to be open to what you're doing. So go ahead.
No, I was going to add to that. Yeah, I mean, I've been through too many of them for 40 years now. And I think Jennifer can also attest that, and she's very good at what she does. But, there's always a few of them out there that might not be as honest as what they appear to be. And so do you ever get anybody ever approaching you and wondering about whether or not they're going to get a real good reading off of you, or whether you're one of the, I always call it the 1%, no matter what it is, the 1% of good doctors, good dentists, bad dentists, there's always 1%. How do you handle that and answer to something like that when there's some out there that have kind of ruined it for the good ones, Sure.
Well, I think it is fine to have that healthy balance of skepticism in your life. You should never go into anything blindly. Go ahead and question. But be curious. Be curious about what the reading is. I think one of the most difficult energies to work with, because the person you're reading for, your sitter, their energy matters. And if they're sitting there with their arms crossed saying, prove it to me, they're not there for a connection. They're there for their own analytical reasons. And of course, I can understand that. But I also have to have something to work with, to blend with. But just working with me, I really, really strive to provide evidential mediumship, details that is very unique to the person you're trying to connect with, that you can't Google, that I love having the moment where, wow, that is crazy. That is crazy. How did you know that?
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's going to look like when it happens. But those are the moments I strive for. And it's just so important to me that someone gets the reading that they need, because it's a healing art. It's so important, and it's so personal and vulnerable and emotional. And you have to be able to respect that. But it also takes a lot of trust on my part, not only to trust the person I'm doing the reading for, that they are here for this, but I have to trust in my ability. I have to trust the spirit world. Most importantly, I really surrender. It's like, it's up to the spirit world as to how this reading goes. I am just open to it, and let's see what happens. So really those are kind of my ingredients to things.
One of the things that I've come to put into different compartments along the way is, so do you see in pictures? Do you see in colors? Do you hear things come to you? Because I know I'm telepathic, and there are times when I hear I'm being directed by something. It's not necessarily female, it's not necessarily male, but it's directing me. Or some people say, oh, that's your higher self. Well, it might be my higher self giving me guidance, but sometimes they come up with whatever they're coming up with. I couldn't think on my own. How do you operate, I guess? Pictures, flashes, sense, smell, the whole 10 yards.
Oh, well, I love it when I get the visuals. To me, it's just the neatest thing. They're not always 100% accurate, but like they're meaningful. And like sometimes I'll see someone's kitchen, or I'll see how they dress, or I'll see someone smile, or how they laugh, or the car they had, or the view they loved, or, I love that. I did a reading for someone at the Oregon Ghost Conference last year. And I'm like, okay, what you got for me? And Spirit showed me a button, like a coat button. And so I gave it. I'm like, this is what I'm seeing. And I drew the button with the 4 holes. I'm like, I'm seeing a button. And we were connecting with his grandma. And he's like, oh my gosh, we used to play the game Button, Button, Who's Got the Button?
Interesting.
And it just had me floored, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like with everyone else, kind of like turning to the camera, like, did you see that?
Yeah, I know. I know.
You know, so I do love the visuals. Sometimes I'll hear someone's laugh.
Yeah.
Or I'll hear them coughing,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll hear the gruffness in their voice. But sometimes if I'll get like a sentence or something like that, it can be in my own voice in my head.
Yeah.
But I'll accept it anyway, and I'll give it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my operation is through the emotion that's coming in. I feel it like it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And including like, this is their personality. This is how I feel in this moment. I'm feeling their personality. Or if they want to convey a sentiment,
Mm-hmm.
it's through emotion. And then I have to put words to it. And I'm not, you know, sometimes I translate wrong. So a lot of times I'll just try to say, this is what I'm feeling. This is
Mm-hmm.
what is coming in. And it all kind of blends together. Sometimes when I do a reading, they're like, they know who I am. I'm here for the advice. And it's advice.
Mm-hmm.
Other times there's just a lot of remembrance where it's like, remember this scenario. Remember when we did this. This was so important to me in life, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I just really try to, when I sit down for a reading, not be like, okay, what's it going to be like? What can I expect? It needs to look like this.
Yeah.
Because that's shutting me down. That's blocking me.
Mm-hmm.
So just being open to however it comes in. I have had smells come in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I've had tastes come in the past, and those are incredibly lifelike when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that to be really, really intriguing too. But at the same time, I can't request that from the spirit world. Like, give me a smell today.
Yeah, let me take this. Oh my God! Out of all the smells, that's what you had. But I have had smells come in, and I knew. And sometimes, well, because you're dealing with clients, it's probably different. But like for myself, my dad, we lived on a hobby farm, and there was a particular smell that he always had dragging into the house. And it's like when he had passed away, I was engulfed with it, 600 miles away. I knew exactly that it was him. But the thing is some people can relate to certain smells that actually do also come to them. Now, you get these types of things. Do you ever get like a yuck feeling in your stomach, or like something you just kind of, you can taste it or whatever, and kind of makes you a little bit nauseous while you're trying to do this reading? Any experiences like that?
I've felt other people's ailments before. That can come through. If there is a spirit who is coming through that maybe the sitter didn't necessarily want to speak to that person, and they're coming through. Spirit has to come through with the personality they had in life, because otherwise, how are you going to recognize them? But a lot of times they will come in with, and I try to be the best host possible. You're in good hands with me. If someone comes in with this animosity or negativity or abusive energy, I will very softly describe, like, oh, this person's kind of bitter, stubborn, short fused, short tempered, and every single reading I've had with, say, a negative type person, they're coming in with acknowledgement and not saying, hey, I don't, it's not that I'm here so that you can forgive me. I just want to offer you understanding as to why I was this way. And many, many a time they will offer, I'll be like, well, they're saying that they learned this from their parents. Do you understand that? Oh yeah, I understand that. And it's like, okay, if you can understand where this cycle started, or, the hardships that they had, that they were stuck in life, that they couldn't let go of. Like, let's say I was discriminated against in life, and it was really tough for me to trust people. And then I had to move all over here. And then I just couldn't let all that go. so that I could be a caring, loving person to you, you know,
right.
Can you understand that? You know, so, you know, yes, sometimes it feels icky. And ailments can, you know, they're not full blown sensations, but they're not fun sensations. Like a lot of times I'll feel a finger prick if someone was diabetic in life, or, you know, I'll feel pain in my chest or in my head, or, you know, anywhere. Can't feel my feet, you know, that sort of thing. Certainly that what you could describe as negative emotion and negative physical feelings have come through as well.
Interesting. Let's go back, because you're new to many of the listeners and watchers on this show. Let's go back to the earliest you can remember, when you began to either come into your awakening or was wondering what's going on with me or something like that. And if this is a generational thing, we'll get to that after that. But let's go back. So how old were you when you started to recognize that something about you just seemed a little bit, something was going on?
I felt, thinking about it, I've always thought that this is how life was.
Yeah.
I grew up looking for magic. I grew up looking for the secret path. I grew up looking for fairies. You know, all these things always had this pull with me. I've always loved ghost stories and the paranormal, and I couldn't understand how anyone would poo-poo it, let alone not be interested in it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like it's always been there, so it's kind of hard to quantify it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've lived in so many haunted houses where I feel like I was the ghost magnet. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't practicing or exploring mediumship at that time. But I feel like those who have that, first off, I think everyone has this ability, but those who are either destined for it or just have that guaranteed channel for it, it's life is going to nudge you that way. And also you're going to look at things differently. It'll be like, of course the ghosts were active around me. They were trying to get my attention.
Right.
So it's kind of just been this ongoing life progression. Mm-hmm. And there's been stepping stones along the way. You know, when I mentioned the green witchcraft, that has always been with me. I've been reading tarot cards since I had the agency and the knowledge that they existed. And then from there, I think I've mentioned in the past that I was in a minor car accident, but I was left with neck and back pain. And I was so desperate that I started studying and just experimenting with energy work for myself. And it was very beneficial. It really worked. And so then I picked up Reiki from there and started practicing on others. And during Reiki sessions, that's when spirit started coming in. Mm-hmm. And there was solid confirmation of that. So from Reiki, I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. What is this? You know, my jaw dropping. And I'm like, how can I ignore this? I have to read up on mediumship. I have to go to workshops. I have to practice this. And and that's where I've been ever since.
Wow. Yeah, you know, it's an interesting journey for anyone that I've talked with that has fallen into this or in a very different way. And I'm glad to see that you became so interested in it that you kept pursuing it from all these questions until you're where you're at right now. Do you feel like there's anything that you want to learn still at this point in time? So you're kind of learning. Is there something that you want to tune up a little bit better? Is there something that you're kind of gearing toward as we speak now? And it might be different next year, but right now I'm just wondering.
Yeah, with mediumship, I always think there's more to learn, or at least more to open up to.
Yeah.
And like, okay, just keep expanding, keep expanding. But what I would really love to explore would be physical mediumship, where things appear or are manipulated in the physical world. I know that it's kind of this thorny trap of, well, there was so much hoaxing going on in the spiritualist era with physical mediumship, but it's like, if I know it's real, in a way, it's like, that's good enough for me. But it's like, to be able to offer something material in a material world for people, like as it is with my readings, I really do want people just scratching their heads and saying, how did she know that? Yeah. She couldn't have possibly, because I want to give them that proof. But no matter what you do, no matter what your vehicle is, I think the human nature is just always in the back of your head. How did she pull that off? Is that real? Because we're just not used to it. So I think it's forgivable and understandable. But to me, again, I'm just kind of fascinated with the idea of physical mediumship and having something physically manifest or move or even temperature change. I have experienced temperature change myself. And lately, I have this light in my living room that has one of those rechargeable bulbs. The bulb is dead. But ever since this one reading, every once in a while it turns on. So, but the person I was reading for, Grandma did that to his light too. And so every time that light turns on now, I'm like, hi, Grandma.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's just little things like that. There's always something to be intrigued by. There's always something.
Well, and I think about the physicalness on that. What would be that light bulb thing, considering it's a kind of a dead bulb, or is it rechargeable?
It's rechargeable, but the battery's dead because I haven't. It's in a lamp that doesn't have a cord, and that's why it's in there.
And also when the light goes on, yeah,
it came on this morning, and it's been happening for a couple of weeks now, just randomly. But the first time it happened was I was doing a reading for that person's brother. So it was the same grandmother. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the light just came on. I haven't published that reading yet, but I was getting the word sassafras, and he's like, she used to say that all the time. In fact, I think it was the first word I ever said because of her. And I don't know why she said it. It was like this expression. I'm like, yeah, she says sassafras. And then my light came on, and it's been doing it ever since.
Like, hello. Well, you bring up a good point here, though. There's a good point. So a lot of people want to sit down, like instant messaging. I want to talk to my dad, or I want to talk to my mom, or whatever. I don't know. What would you say to these people that sometimes you just can't pull them down on a moment's notice? Or have you had different type of success with that, where you're able to access something or be able to alert them in a way to talk and to all that? Because, some people they won't talk, close the curtain, I'm not coming out. What's your experience been like with that?
Well, one side of that is when someone finds out that I'm a medium, they're like, oh yeah, give me a reading. It's like, no. Whoa, let me be, I'm living my human life right now. Let me live my human life. Plus I like to do some prep. I like to lower the blood pressure. I want to, and that's another reason why I do my notes beforehand. No one's looking at me. I have all the time in the world. Yep. Just, come in, come close. I like that space. I don't think it's completely necessary. I do encounter a loved one who will come through every once in a while, be like, hey, were they quiet in life? Were they a private person? Were they not one to want to like talk their business. And they'll be like, yeah, I'm like, okay, so that's what's going on. They're just being a little shy. They're being a little quiet. And hopefully now that we're acknowledging that, yes, this is the person, they're presenting themselves the right way. Maybe now they'll come through. But like I've had readings where I'm like, I know something's there, and I'm pushing. I'm kind of pushing my sitter as far as like, I know there's something there. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And they're like, and like I'm asking spirit, and I'm like, why won't? And then after the reading's over, especially if we're recording, they're like, I can't talk about that. And I think spirit knew I couldn't talk about it. And everyone's honoring that. So there's plenty of reasons why. I have not really encountered someone not coming through or being there. If that is the case, I will own that. That is me. I'm not perfect. And I never want someone to think that a loved one isn't there for them. Gosh, no. I'm a human being with my flaws, and let it be my fault. If it's going to be anyone's fault out there, let it be my fault.
You know, that brings me to a question about our ancestors, because I just recently started thinking about this question every time I talk with some that are mediums and stuff like that. And it's like, well, how far back can a person really go? So for an example, I'm thinking about my great grandfather right now, and I'm like thinking about, like, I know his history to some degree, but I don't know, his entire life history, because it's not written down anywhere. It's not noticed or anything, or people might not be interested, or people never really, left any kind of indication of anything. How far back can you even go in the ancestry line of a family to still get some kind of reading? Because keep in mind, Jennifer, that like, for example, in my family, they came over on the boat back in 18 whatever it was, 57, 67, and there was a husband and a wife and two small kids. Well, one of the small kids was my great grandfather, right? But the thing is, they never knew me. I never had any association with them. My association, though, is that I go to the cemetery and I pay visits and I talk to them, and as if we always knew each other. So my question to you is, in the line of, I don't know if you ever had anyone ask about their ancestors before, but in the line of ancestors, what do you go through with that, with that sort of thing?
I think the biggest challenge is, how do you confirm that the information is correct? Like, say, with your great grandfather, I'm getting the impression that he was just kind of delightful. He was a little bit whimsical, very thoughtful, had a really great heart. But how can we confirm that? Right? I think he was a very imaginative little boy. Probably got in trouble sometimes, but it's so there's that challenge of not being able to confirm it. And also I check in with the person I'm reading for, so I know I'm pulling on the right thread, so there's that as well. I think if there is a want to do it, the connection can be there, but can it be proven? That's the hang up.
Yeah.
That is the hang up there. So if anyone wanted to say, hey, I just kind of really want to know what my great great aunt was like, sure, we can open up the space and I can honestly give you what I'm feeling or thinking. But we can't confirm it. Yeah. So it's a different type of reading, and it's a different type of trust. And of course, if it's not coming in, well, I'll let you know. I'm not getting anything, you know. And again, blame myself. Blame myself for that.
Well,
it's an interesting question. It really is.
I spoke to a gentleman, kind of like you. Oh God, must have been 4 years ago or something like that. And I can't remember what the ultimate question was, but I was trying to connect with my grandfather on my father's side. Okay, my dad's father. And he said to me, so he gave me this very accurate details that I kind of already knew, and no place to be found on the internet or anything like that. You wouldn't have been able to find all that. And he said, well, now let's take a look and see what your grandfather has to say about all this. And he goes, ooh, he just closed the curtain on me. He said to me, I don't know who you are, and I don't know who you're talking about. So I'm just closing this curtain. And I thought that was very strange because my grandfather knew who I am because I've had associations with him in periodically throughout life, and so he knew who I was. But to say to a psychic medium or a medium, I don't know who you are and I don't know who you're talking about, so I'm closing her up. Does that make any sense to you as to why someone that should know you or do know you, or maybe he couldn't connect and that was the best message he could possibly give, would actually say something like that?
Well, if someone while in life was very skeptical or say overly religious, didn't want to deal with anything like that, sure, they could express that sentiment because it's like, why would grandpa be so open to it now? But to say, was he saying he didn't know the medium? So bye-bye?
And he didn't know me either.
Yeah, that sounds like a mistranslation or a miscommunication. But yeah, again, the medium should own it. Yeah. No one should ever put anything on the sitter.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a bizarre reaction. But I mean, he was doing good up until, because that would have been my grandfather. My grandfather would have been, don't talk to me about it. This is, I'm not even going to whatever. But to completely deny that he didn't know who I was. Yeah. That's weird. That was weird to me. And I thought, are we that angry or that indifferent, or maybe we don't care or whatever? And that brings me to another question for you then. How long do you think, or at least in your experience, do you think this energy is about for? Because from what I understand, a lot of times it's here for a certain period of time and then it turns and it starts to transform or go do other things or whatever, so you might not have that energy around much anymore. What's your thoughts on what happens once a person passes away?
I believe that we really we're time locked right now, and we have this keyhole of knowledge, or viewpoint that we have, and it just expands when we leave these restrictions. But I think we can retain it for forever. I think that's part of it, that we come here to learn and experience, and then when we take that back with us to share with the collective, but we're still ourselves, and it's not like it's ever erased. That I don't pretend to know everything or anything, but I really don't, to put time limits on stuff, that's keeping it here in this timeline. And I think we should be broader than that. I think we just can't comprehend it. And all we have is the reference point that we have right now, looking out through our own eyes, and it's limited. We're limited.
Well, and the one example that comes to my mind is Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so they sit and talk about how the White House, or wherever he's residing, used to reside. He shows up at the point where there's some civil unrest or something going on that, maybe he thinks he could still help in the process. And there have been a lot of reports that his image, his physicalness or whatever shows up. Someone opened up the door of a room somewhere and literally saw him, and of course closed the door, to a bedroom, because it's like, who the heck is that? And it was him. But that's what I was wondering. It's so weird how some energies just hang around or make the decision that they're not going anywhere. They still want to be watching over their country or whatever the case may be. And that's, I don't even know, I can't remember when he died, but years ago, right? And where some of them, once they're gone, they just don't seem to give much of a sign or or an indication that they're around anymore. I don't know. When you've done readings, who has been the oldest person? If you can think back to this, have you read somebody who's like in their 70s, 80s, 90s? I mean, we're talking up in that age range, who actually wanted to have a reading. Who's the oldest person you think you've ever read? And what can I ask, if you can remember, if they are of age like that, what kind of questions are they asking, or what kind of concerns do they have?
I've had some older clients but normally they're just wanting to connect with their parents who had passed a while ago, or a husband, or a recent loved one who has come through. It would be an interesting experiment to see, like, okay, how old are you and how far can we go back?
Yeah.
But normally with readings, there's this emotional attachment and there's this emotional connection that is wanted. So in general, they know that person and they want to connect with them again. I think the oldest person I've connected for was actually for someone, middle-aged, and we connected with a great grandparent. Maybe great-great-grandmother. And some things were coming through, but again, because it couldn't be confirmed, it was really hard for me to have confidence to keep going. So it hasn't really expanded farther than that for me. It is a really interesting question, though, and I don't think it necessarily fades. And when we're talking about like Abraham Lincoln and stuff, I think that we can kind of leave fragmented impressions that linger, and especially if it's still in the human psyche that's kind of fueling it a little bit, and then you have someone who is just kind of has a natural ability to pick up on it, and their senses are interpreting, wow, I'm seeing him right there, because that's being projected. But doesn't necessarily mean his entire soul is lingering in that bedroom for hundreds of years.
That's what I'm saying. Well, the way they made it sound, this guy shows up, randomly, and he's always dressed in the same old top hat, whatever. It's interesting, and they make these reports, and it's not just there. I suppose you could use Gettysburg as another example because of these souls that are passing through or whatever. I do know that my husband and I just had a recent experience that came out of nowhere when we were in Brussels, and we were visiting his uncle that had fought in the World War II war against the Nazis over in that area. And we were visiting his grave for a second time. But this time I said to him, and I didn't know if he was there because they all have same old cross markers and everything. And I had said to him this time, I said, I don't know if we're ever going to be coming back again, because that was our second time. And because getting over here can be kind of difficult as we age and everything. And I just want to wish you well. And I wish we could bring you back with us and all that. And when I put my hand on the tombstone, I sizzled, which means I electrified. I had a kind of an electric shock go right through me, a real strong tingling. And I was telling my husband about this. And anyway, long story short, between that and the incident of almost being run over by the personless car a day while buying a haunted harmonica that I didn't know was really haunted, which, by the way, it was the Nazi harmonica. It wasn't the, it's just a long story. But when we got back, actually a couple weeks ago, as of you and I speaking right now, when I was there and talking to his uncle, sometimes you feel stupid because you think, oh, is there anyone even listening? Is there anyone even here? I mean, I don't know. But when I sizzled, then I wasn't quite sure what happened to me. But a couple weeks ago, the questions I asked were, I wish I knew how you died. I wish I knew if you're buried right here. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew that. And an anonymous person from Kansas City, I think it was Kansas City, Kansas, or Missouri, I can't remember which one, nobody knew I asked these questions, contacted my husband out of the blue on his email at his work and had said, my grandfather was a best friend to your uncle, and they actually fought in the World War II against the Nazis, and your uncle died and passed away. And he said, by the way, I'd like to know if you had any information that you could share about possibly my grandfather and his relationship. But on the other hand, he said, too, I want to share these folders with you. And these are documents that were confidential at the time. I don't even know how he got his hand on them, because to this day no one would be able to get their hands on them. And it shared how he died, where he died, that they exhumed him twice, that he was at his marker, and every living thing you can imagine, what he died wearing, what he looked like when he was exhumed and then reburied again. Every question I asked was actually answered in there. And of course, my husband was incredibly emotional because it was such a shock. And then I became shocked because I remember being sizzled and asking those questions. And then out of the blue, when no one knew we talked about this, here's the answers. I don't know. Have you ever heard of anything as crazy as that before?
That's wonderful. And mysterious.
Yeah, it's mysterious, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
I think we should all, if there is the want, do these things where we're just asking. It's like, go ahead and ask for a sign. Go ahead and ask for a dream visitation. Go ahead and talk to those who have passed on. Because you never know what's going to happen. It's not shocking to me that something went into play and people got nudged and people were inspired and then someone acted on it. It can happen. Does it happen all the time? Maybe not, because the human element is involved. What if that guy was like, you know what? Next week I'll send the stuff. Because that's a possibility. But I also think that it's an amazing thing to reach out and try. And I've certainly, heard stories in which people have made the request and the spirit world delivers. And it's great. Yeah.
And it was so unbelievable that even to this day, we've only told a few people about this, and of course now you're hearing about this. But if I don't even know if it was a manifestation, but I'm telling you, wherever the pipeline was and whatever happened from point A to point B, it's been still a shock to both of us that something like this actually happened. So on that note, we'll have to have you back again probably next year at some point, later next year, because you're going to be airing early right now. You're going to be airing earlier than most months that are coming up. And I want you to tell everybody if they want to reach out to you, how they would do so, and then what kinds of things can you do for them.
Okay, yeah. I am currently host of a podcast called I Talk to Ghosts, where I share spooky ghost stories and medium readings. You can visit italktoghosts.com to either sign up for my waiting list or to book appointments if I have my calendar open. I offer medium readings, I offer tarot readings, and energy work as well. But I also have a sign up form on my website where you can be a guest and have a free guest reading on the show, because I don't want the money barrier to be a hindrance to anyone. And you can find I Talk to Ghosts on all the podcast players and music apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. And I like to share my readings directly on the show so that people can see how I work, kind of get to know me, what I offer, what a reading could be like, and then decide if it's for them. No pressure. So yeah, that's I Talk to Ghosts. And it's right now I have episodes twice a week.
Oh my goodness. Busy. Twice a week. Good Lord. I mean, I know how it feels for me. I can't imagine what it feels like for you. So add that, and plus all the readings that you probably get and people coming in. So yeah, I will have all of this in the show notes. And again, reach out, listen, have fun. On that note, Jennifer, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me again. Such a delightful conversation, and it's so thought-provoking. And I hope that others listen and they're intrigued as well. And maybe we all learned a few things today, like what to try, how to be open. And I just encourage everyone to believe that that connection is real. It's always there. We're just busy living our human life, and it's loud. And spirit connection is very subtle. Yeah, your loved ones are always with you.
I agree. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening to Haunted Mysteries Podcast. The content, music, and creative sound effects as heard on the Haunted Mysteries Podcast are copyrighted and licensed commercially to Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Please do not reproduce in any manner without the express permission of Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz, Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Haunted Mysteries Podcast, and or any affiliated networks such as the Get Haunted Podcast Network. The opinions and information expressed by the guest, hosts, and sources as heard and seen on the Haunted Mysteries Podcast are not necessarily those of Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Haunted Mysteries Podcast, and the Get Haunted Podcast Network, as well as its producers. Although the content of the shows may be interesting, the information and opinions within are deemed for entertainment purposes only. Subscribe to continue your enjoyment and interest, and thank you for making Haunted Mysteries Podcast part of your day.